Alright, this is just a little video here I'm making about a project that I finally finished. This project is a good 3 years in the making. It didn't take 3 years to make. A lot of that is just tardiness and I don't want to call it laziness. It wasn't laziness, but reluctance to finish it. There were a few setbacks, which were mainly mental. We'll talk about that. I'm making this video for a few people that helped out in making this bag. They may not have known that, but they did. First would be Jim Crane. We chatted a long time ago. I don't imagine he remembers about this project, and I was picking his brain as to what he thinks is the, like kind of the ultimate bag. He loves this style of bag, the U.S. mail pattern leather bag. Of an era gone by. I love that bag too. I'm not a bag person. I mean, I like making them and looking at them. I don't really use them, but he's a guy that uses them. So I picked his brain as to what the elements are that he likes most about, the several bags that are out there that are inspired, like this one is, by the U.S. mail bag. So I picked his brain on that. So thank him for that. You should definitely check out his channel. He's got several bags on there that he reviews in some good detail, and it's definitely worth looking at those if you like these bags and leathercraft in general. I certainly enjoy them. Also Norman Kahn, you'll find some of his bags on Jim's channel. He's got a great Instagram. He makes gorgeous bags, and all of them are, a similar style of that U.S. mail bag pattern, and they're amazing. So huge inspiration there. Anderson Leather, he posted his mail bag on their Leathercraft Reddit, and I picked his brain and we chatted. So he was really useful to talk to. And there were others that were inspiring just in general with their leathercraft, but also had lots of good information on mail bags. Mine is an attempt to make a useful bag that like a guy like Jim would really like, and I tried to be fairly, somewhat accurate to the U.S. mailbag pattern. There are specs out there that you can look up, and it goes into great detail as to dimensions, how it's built, the number of rivets, and there's obviously different sizes of bags for different purposes. Even the stitch length and so on. So I took those into consideration. Obviously didn't follow all of them, but it's something to think about. In any case, we'll go over the general design first, and then we'll get into some details. So the standard mailbag pieces, you get a good flap here, which goes most of the way down. 3-piece gusset with 3 rivets and the double stitching, that's sort of standard. The really attractive piece that a lot of people like is this sort of support piece that gets stitched around these billets that hold the D-rings, which hold a shoulder strap. So it's got those riveted, stitched and riveted flap. It's got a handle on the back. We'll get into some of these details in a bit. And you can see this line of stitching is for the support piece inside the bag, which is a sturdy piece of veg tan. So that's, the general design. The other general piece of the mail bag that's, I guess, somewhat important if you're going for accuracy is that there is a front pocket. So, if you're delivering mail, you're pulling mail out of the front pocket, delivering it, picking up mail, and putting it in the larger piece of the bag, the larger compartment. Obviously, this isn't a real mail bag, but I did keep that one element of having a front pocket. The one thing that's missing here, and I wasn't able to figure it out at the time, I think I've got it since, is there's usually pleat, 2 pleats at the bottom. So the panel here is not really a rectangle, it's more of a trapezoid, and the bottom folds in on itself and gets stitched stitched in here, and that gives you a little more, if I had done that, you get a little bit more of this pocket bulging out in the front. I actually think that's a good thing, especially for the balance, although this one's doing pretty good. It stands up on its own. And it gives you a little more space in that pocket in general. I didn't accomplish that for this bag. That will definitely be a piece of the next one. The other essential elements, some of them I changed obviously, is this piece of veg tan leather that wraps around from the back to the front to relieve the stress on the stitching of the gusset. So I did keep that, although I modified it. We'll talk about that in a bit. And that's really it. I don't know a whole lot about how the straps are supposed to be made. I just don't know if there was a standard or what it was. So I just went with you know, what I thought would work. Okay, so that's the quick overview of the bag. And then we'll get into some of the details. My sun's a bit bright today, so this might be coming out a little blue. So one of the things that Jim mentioned in some of his videos, and I've gone over basically all of the mailbag videos there numerous times obsessively, is a lot of the bags have a lock. Not all of them, some don't, some have a big flap, and I think in general what he likes is you know, a bag with a flap, at least is what he mentioned, maybe he's changed his mind, a flap that, you know, is easy to lift up and get into and just get into the bag, right? So there's no clasp or buckle or anything on the front, it's just a flap, and that's it. So you open it up and there you are. Now I did add a closure system strap here, which is pretty quick and easy, and it's actually optional. So you can cinch the bag up like it is now and kind of have everything secured in there, and then you can get into it like so, right? And if that's a hassle, you don't have to use that. You can either leave that in just tucked in like that, and it's quick and easy to get into, or you can tuck this back in the bag and just forget about it. Right, so that's one element that I put in there. I like that. Some of the other changes are I used a button stud here rather than a rivet. A proper mailbag should have these riveted on both ends. I used a button stud here, so you can get a little more space out of it, or you can tighten it up if you want. I don't actually like that anymore. I thought maybe it was clever at the time. Looking back, I wouldn't do that. I would rivet it. I do like this idea. I would keep it. One of the other aspects of a mailbag is piping. I did add a piping, just piping all around. This is veg tan leather, thin veg tan. I'd never done piping before. It was a good opportunity to do it. I put it in there. It's on both sides, front and back. Okay. And we're going to get into the inside of the bag here. So. All right, so we're in the bag. Like a standard mail bag, you've got this front flap. So here's your front pocket. You can slip a fair amount of stuff in there. It's just sort of a big open pocket. There's no arrangement at all. It's just a pretty open slip, really. There's not a lot to it. It does have a little rolled edge. We'll talk about the stitching in a bit. Then you've got your main compartment, okay? And then you've got this slip here in the back. The slip in the back has a retaining strap, which sets with another stud button. So there's a piece of Hermann Oak veg tan here holding that back. And you got the slip. You can put your laptop in there and retain it if you want. If you don't, you can just leave that guy down there. Forget about that if that's a pain. It's gonna be hard to see, hard to get in there, but this back pocket has trim on it, some veg tan. There is a pen pocket, which my hand is covering up. Here on this side, you can fit a couple pens in there, and then you've got a pocket in the middle for a phone or what have you, and then a slightly larger pocket on the other side. So there's some organization on the back slip, as well as the slip. And then I did add a little D-ring here if you want to hang. If you got one of those brass hooks or a clip, you know, like a little snap, you can throw like your keys or something like that in the bag. And that's really that. So that's really it for the useful parts of the bag. It's, you know, a main compartment with a front pocket, and then your back slip for a laptop with a retaining strap and some organization on that, and a little D-ring. That's really it. I didn't put a back pocket on it. I think the back pocket is super cool, but I didn't add it for this one. There weren't any on mail bags, but this isn't a mail bag. This is something that's meant to be used by people today, and some people like a lot of organization, but I opted for a different look, and I didn't put the pocket on the back. Totally cool. I do like it. It can look really good. For this one, I just didn't. Okay, cool. All right, so material and construction. The old US leather bags, mail bags, were made out of vegetable tan leather. I opted not to go with vegetable tan leather in this case. This is a brown 6-7 ounce Latigo. So medium weight, maybe slightly on the hefty side for a lot of people. I think it's just about right. However, this is a heavy bag for numerous reasons. The design here was overbuilt. I was going for an overbuilt bag and overkill. So I don't know why I was obsessed with that at the time, but I was. So I kind of overdid it in many areas we'll talk about. So this is a 6-7 ounce Latigo. The trim here is, all the veg tan on this bag is Hermann Oak saddle skirting, if I recall correctly, yes. And the trim is a 6-7 ounce on the top. You can see the design element here of this trim. I'm basically taking that from Norman Kahn, who does beautiful bags. He often puts a trim on the top. There's trim at the top of the gusset also. I've seen some bags that have the trim on the inside here, which matches the main back piece here, the support piece in the back. But I just left it outside. So 6-7 ounce Hermann Oak veg tan. This is a this support piece in the back here. This is a I think I skived it ever so slightly to take the hair off the back. It was like a 15 ounce. Took this from the butt. It was like a 15, even maybe 16 ounce bit of skirting leather. I scut that down a little bit. It's still quite thick. It's maybe 12 ounces of leather there. It's pretty beefy. So again, yeah, overdone. Retaining strap and the closure strap here in the front, Hermann Oak veg tan again. The inside pockets here that you can't see, this flap. This flap down here for your laptop in your pockets, and this front pocket. This is actually Horween. It's a Horween. I forget the type of the exact name. It's a type of Latigo though. Basically, I think it's like a 3-4 ounce, 3-4 ounce Latigo. It's pretty nice. It's got like a veg tan look to it, like a natural color. If you grease it, it kind of gets a little luster in it and some patina over time. It's pretty nice. The inside pocket is the inside back pocket, which is impossible to see from here, is trimmed with some more of that Horween veg tan. Okay, all the stitching is hand stitched. You can look up the details of a mailbag, and they actually, the patent I think was by the U.S. Postal Service, and they sent it out to some different makers. So there are some details that you can find on them, and even the stitch length. And I think the stitching was like 4 stitches per inch or something. I think it was like 6 millimeters. I'm shy of that. I think most of the stitching on the bag is 5.5 millimeters. This is all hand stitched with Vinymo thread. This is sort of an off-white color. Vinymo MBT is a really nice polyester, very strong and really nice for hand stitching and machine stitching. I don't machine stitch, but it's versatile that way. Okay, so some pretty hefty highlights that give some structure to the bag. Again, with the overkill, I did go with adding some reinforcement and rivets to the top of the gusset. So you can see that up here. Okay, each one of these has a fold over piece of leather and a rivet that goes through it. That's part of the overkill. If I were to do this again, I would not add that. I think that is literally overkill and unnecessary. It does have some drawbacks, which I'll get into, and some of my disappointments about this bag in a bit. We've got all the hardware is brass, brass buckle, a little brass square for a loop, brass stud buttons there, and that's it for hardware. Really, we'll get into the strap in a bit. You've got your rivets, so 3 rivets here, copper rivets. Take a look at that. 3 copper rivets. This is an interesting little piece here I think is worth mentioning, and that is how the 3-piece gusset is put together. I've noticed a lot of makers have the side gusset below the bottom gusset, if that makes sense. Mine is the opposite. My side gusset is on top of the bottom piece, so your exposed edge is on the bottom. I think for a practicality point of view, it should be down here, so that if you're getting this wet rain, it's going to want to go down and just drip down. A lot of guys seem to do the opposite, and you get their edge up. I think aesthetically that is superior. You know, you get a nice burnished edged or a dyed edge. It's a really good look. Norman Kahn's bags, fantastic look. I think, if I recall correctly, and I may have this wrong, usually this is done the opposite, so you get your edge facing up and it's visible, and it's a really nice aesthetic piece. I think aesthetically I definitely prefer that. Maybe this is being really anal, but I think this is the quote-unquote correct way if you're trying to make an accurate mailbag, which this isn't. It should be this piece on top. Gives you a little bit extra protection from the water, that's all. Just a design element, I chose to go with that. It's a little wider at the base. I believe this is like 6.5 inches. Maybe 6 inches. It narrows at the top. I may make some changes there going forward in the future. We'll have to think about that. You've got your piping. This is my first time doing any piping, but I've got some piping on this bag. Just a thin piece of veg tan, folded over, put in between there, stitched in with the gusset. Let's move to the back. All right, so we're on the back of the bag here, taking a closer look at some things here. Let's start with the handle. This handle turned out really well. I was quite happy with it. It feels good in the hand. It's quite robust. It's got a thick piece of that Hermann Oak saddle skirting. Same thing that's in the support piece back here on the inside. And on the top is the same Latigo. And you'll see that it's raised slightly. There's a little piece of leather in there that I added to give it a little raise. It's a nice little aesthetic, and it feels good in the hands. You'll notice the stitching is a different length than the main stitching on the bag. All this is 5.5 mil. I believe this is 3.85 millimeter stitching. It was quite a long time ago that I did it. They're both the same thread, identical thread, just different weights. So both Vinymo MBT. So here's a look at the back. So you see that I've stitched all the way through this back piece of leather in through to the support piece. Okay, and I've stitched on the top as well, but you don't see the stitching here at the bottom. So there was an order of operations. The billets on the back, not the billets, the support piece for the billets are stitched all the way through the support piece. That middle line of stitching that holds the flap right here, that's stitched to this part of the bag, but not stitched through to the support piece. But the top row is. Okay, we do run into some troubles here, I think. This is one of the disappointments of the bag. There's mainly two disappointments, and that is I feel like the stitching went too far, and even the rivet maybe is too far. Okay, and so this gusset wants to push out and be round, and that pushes this flap out here and causes this unsightly crease. I think we could have gotten away with less stitching and let this come out on its own without this tight crease here. You can see it on both ends. So that's something that I would definitely have to address going forward. Yeah, or maybe make the radius on this bigger. I think there's different ways to fix that. I don't think it really takes away from the function of the bag, but it's not something I like, and it's too bad I didn't notice it earlier. I could have fixed it. But setting these rivets was a real chore. These are quite long rivets that have to go through all that leather. That's a lot of leather. I mean, you've got 12 and 6 is 18, and then what's that? That's probably another so 6, 18, that looks like that's 8 ounce, so 16, so 32, and then another 6. Yeah, I mean, you're almost 40 ounces of leather there, I think, if I did my math right. It's a lot of leather to put a rivet through and to stitch through. That was fun, let me tell you. Happy with the handle, really happy with the support billets, the support pieces for the billets. Happy with this aesthetic minus this little pinchy bit here. Let's go on to the other disappointment. So, like I said, the bag is overbuilt. It is very overbuilt. That was the goal, so mission accomplished, but it has its drawbacks. This pinch here on this corner and how heavy these gussets are at the top make that leather want to curl up, okay? So you tend to lose a lot of real estate in your bag, right? So if you think, I think this was 4.5 inches here, but you're not getting 4.5 inches at the top, even if you stretch that out, okay? So that's sort of a problem, okay? That's not a lot at the top of your bag because this is pinched so tightly. So mistake on my part. I think that's a drawback. That's really it though. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I do worry about how usable it is. I haven't used the bag. I'm not a bag carrying guy. Maybe I should be, but yeah. So maybe it breaks in. Hopefully it'll break in. Trying trying to think what else here. I guess I don't have a whole lot to say. Let's move on to the strap. All right, so moving on to the shoulder strap. This is the last piece I made. I actually just finished this the other day. So it's the same, the main piece is the same Hermann Oak saddle skirting. I skived it a little bit. I'd say it's down to about 12 ounces right now. I skived it to take the hairy stuff off the back. Not that it was a hairy hide or anything, but just to even it out. It, you know, one end starts a little bit thicker than the other. So I made it an even thickness on my skiver. I burnished all this down with a burnishing compound, so it's got a smooth back. The edges are burnished with water and wax. Let's take a look at the back here. So as is pretty common for these types of bags, it's got these little D's on the back and it clips on there. I went with these snaps. I like these personally. I think they look good. Okay. I don't know if there's a particular name. Snaps, like lobster snaps. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but here's the snap. These are not halter snaps that I think Jim likes those. They kind of snap on if you put them on the right way and they don't come off. I think these are pretty good. At least I like them. Solid brass. Let's take that off. Of course, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. Okay, so here's our shoulder strap. So I made this fairly thick. I think you could get away with just the strap itself. This is 1 3/8" wide, and it narrows down to 1 inch down here. This is 1 inch snap, and then I have these Conway buckles here that you can adjust. You can adjust the length. You can adjust the length of that. So each side is identical, and they both have two loops. So you just make your adjustment, tighten up the loop to get that bend tightened up. Okay, you're gonna have a loose end up here. Just tighten up that loop. Okay. Conway buckle looks pretty smart. That's my first time using those, and this is a good application for them, I think. You know, I don't make bridles or anything, or any kind of equestrian stuff, but that's obviously the other application. It's nice for adjusting your leather fairly simply. You know, it's pretty sturdy. I like it. So there's your shoulder strap. We'll get to the pad here in a sec. Okay. Nothing fancy here, just a crease down either side, and you know, I put some saddle butter on it and give it a light burnish. It probably could use another little coat of grease and some more rubbing. Here's the shoulder pad. Okay, same brown Latigo, veg tan on the back. Okay, stitched at the same stitching as the main parts of the bag, that 5.5 millimeters. There is 3 pieces of leather here, so there's a bottom piece of veg tan. I don't know if that's showing up. There's the top piece of the Latigo, and on the inside there's a thin piece of vegetable tan leather. Not that everyone's ever going to see it, but I didn't want to see the back of the raw leather looking through these holes, so I put a piece of leather in there. I don't know, overkill, but yeah, 3 pieces of leather in your shoulder strap. It does feel very good on the shoulder. I thought it might feel weird. I don't carry bags, but it does feel quite good. Let me load this up. I figure you want to carry this crossbody. That's me. This does feel very good on the shoulder. I mean, there's nothing really in the bag right now, but it's comfortable. I thought it might like dig into my neck. It's pretty wide. This is 3.5 inches wide. Yeah, no, it actually feels very comfortable. It hasn't broken in yet, but it's not stiff and like digging in anywhere right now. So that's pretty good. It seems pretty easy to get in the bag. Flip that up, deal with this, get in the bag, call it good. That's really it. That's the bag. I am happy with it. I think there's a few things I wish turned out better, but I did accomplish most of what I tried to accomplish. On the next one, which hopefully won't take 2 or 3 years to build, I will make several changes. One, I will add that little pleating in the front. I like that a lot. I might ditch the highlights on the top, these little pieces. I'm not sure if I'll keep that or not. I do like it. It does look good. I have to address something here on I do have to address something here because this is it's okay. It's just, it could be better. Maybe the gusset just needs to be bigger. Maybe it doesn't need to taper, you know. That would be probably the easiest way to do it. Yeah, it was a fun project. It's got basically, for a leather craft person, it hits all the spots, all the hand stitching. Copper rivets, you know, saddler's rivets, brass hardware, hand burnishing, all this veg tan leather, some creases on the strap. You got some turned edges in there, a little bit of everything. Piping, that's the first for me. Yeah, I think the other thing I would change would be I left all my edges raw. I mean, they're burnished, but nothing's colored. At first, I kind of liked the look of the contrast of the brown Latigo and the vegetable tan leather. I think I like it less now. I think maybe if I were to do it again, I would dye the edges black or something like that. That's really it. Anyway, would like to hear your comments. Thanks for your time. It's a long video. And bye.